The Voynich Manuscript and the Man with Two Memories, Japan's Strangest Internet Mystery. Part 1, Introduction, the World's Most Mysterious Book. Imagine a book that no one on earth can read. A book filled with strange symbols, bizarre plants that don't exist in nature, diagrams of stars, and naked women bathing in pools connected by pipes. For over 600 years, the Voynich Manuscript has defied every attempt to unlock its secrets. Cryptographers, historians, even modern AI, none have succeeded in fully decoding it. It has been called the most mysterious manuscript in the world. But in the early 2000s, on a Japanese internet forum, something bizarre happened. An anonymous poster appeared, claiming, "I have two sets of memories. In one of them, this script is my native language. I can read the Voynich Manuscript." At first, everyone laughed. Surely it was just a hoax, or a piece of creative writing. But the more he wrote, the stranger it became. Because his descriptions of what the manuscript contained lined up disturbingly well with what modern researchers have said about the book. This is the story of the man with two memories, and why some people started to wonder if he was telling the truth. Part 2, The Voynich Manuscript and the Man with Two Memories. The story begins with the book itself. The Voynich Manuscript was discovered in 1912 by a Polish book dealer named Wilfred Voynich. It now rests in Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book Library, catalogued as MS-408. Carbon dating of the vellum shows it was created sometime between 1404 and 1438, meaning the book is unquestionably medieval. But the problem is this: no one knows who wrote it, or why. The pages are filled with hundreds of illustrations. Over 100 drawings of plants, most of which cannot be identified. Astrological charts with zodiac symbols. Pages of women bathing in strange connected pools, almost like some kind of medical diagram. Recipes written in endless strings of looping, alien characters. The script itself has come to be called Voynichese. And here's the mystery: statistical analysis shows it behaves like a real language. It has patterns, word frequencies, and structures similar to natural languages. Yet no known alphabet, no cipher key, no linguistic family matches it. For decades, scholars have asked, is it an unknown code? A lost language? Or an elaborate hoax? Now, let's return to Japan in the early 2000s. On a massive anonymous forum, what the English-speaking world would compare to 4chan, one poster started a thread titled something like, "I have two sets of memories." At first glance, it sounded like nonsense. But what he wrote would spark years of fascination. The poster claimed that from the ages of 14 to 19, he lived with overlapping memories, one of our world, and one of another. In that other life, he remembered daily routines, people, even conversations. And in that world, the language used was exactly the same as the script of the Voynich Manuscript. To him, these symbols weren't mysterious, they were as ordinary as the letters of the alphabet are to us. The manuscript wasn't a riddle. It was simply written in his other mother tongue. He began to describe what the book contained. According to him, it wasn't a book of magic or prophecy. It was practical. A kind of medical or herbal compendium. He said it contained notes on herbs and their healing properties. Instructions for mixing remedies. Diagrams showing the flow of bodily fluids and the use of herbal baths. Charts linking treatments to the movement of stars. The forum exploded with reactions. Some mocked him immediately, obvious fake, just role-playing. But others noticed something chilling: his descriptions matched what experts had already suggested about the manuscript's themes. How could some anonymous internet user, without training or access to specialist research, produce such a coherent explanation? And so, a simple post turned into one of the strangest intersections of internet culture and ancient mystery. A man who claimed he could read the unreadable. Part 3, The Forum Debate, Hoax or Hidden Truth? The thread quickly became one of those legendary corners of the internet where mockery, fascination, and mystery collide. The poster, let's call him the man with two memories, didn't just claim he could read the Voynich script. He offered details. When asked about the drawings of strange plants, he replied, "They're herbs. Some of them don't exist in your world, but in mine they were common." The text explains their medicinal uses and how to prepare them. When shown the pages filled with naked women in interconnected tubs, he explained, "This isn't pornography. It's a medical diagram. Those figures represent the flow of fluids in the human body. The baths are herbal remedies used for circulation and fertility." On the astrological charts, he wrote, "In my world, medicine and astronomy were linked. The stars determine the timing of certain treatments. What looks like nonsense here is simply the calendar of therapies." The responses were instant and divided. Some users laughed it off. Total chayani. a Japanese slang term for delusional teenage fantasy. This is just roleplay. Nice try. Next he'll say he was a wizard too. But others hesitated. Because strangely enough, his answers made sense. Scholars had long suggested that the manuscript might be an herbal or medical text. The bathing women were already theorized to represent balneology, therapeutic baths. And the zodiac charts did indeed suggest connections between astrology and health. How could an anonymous poster, with no apparent academic background, independently give answers that lined up with professional speculation? Even more unsettling, he claimed these memories lasted 5 full years of his life. From age 14 to 19, he lived simultaneously in 2 realities, ours, and one where this language was normal. He described the sensation as exhausting. Sometimes I couldn't tell which life I was living. I would speak words nobody here understood. But when I saw the Voynich text, I recognized it instantly. The more he wrote, the harder it became to dismiss him as just a bored troll. And soon, the thread split into 2 camps. Those who mocked, and those who desperately wanted him to post a full translation. But of course, a full translation never came. Instead, his scattered comments and explanations were archived, reposted, and debated across forums for years to come. And then something unexpected happened. Modern AI and statistical analysis began to confirm that the script behaves like a real language. Part 4. When AI joined the mystery. For years, the man's words were buried in internet archives, remembered only by those who love strange forum legends. But in recent years, something unexpected happened. Science began to catch up with his claims. Researchers using computational linguistics and AI language models ran deep statistical tests on the Voynich text. And the results were surprising. The manuscript wasn't random scribbles. It had structure. The frequency of words followed Zipf's law, a statistical pattern found in real languages. Certain words clustered together, suggesting semantic relationships, like herb and preparation. Different sections showed different writing styles, as if written by more than one scribe, or perhaps representing different dialects. In short, it looked and behaved like a natural language. Not gibberish. Not meaningless decoration. Now go back to the anonymous poster. What did he say, years earlier? That was my native language in another life. The plants are real in that world. The diagrams are medical. The text explains treatments and remedies. His claims lined up with the areas where AI found coherence. The herbal sections weren't just repeated nonsense, they had consistent word groupings. The astrological diagrams correlated with clusters of recurring terms, like labels. The so-called bathing women pages showed vocabulary patterns that repeated across those illustrations. To skeptics, it was still coincidence. But to believers, it was confirmation. How could some random forum poster, decades ago, describe the manuscript as a functional, meaningful language, only for modern AI to later suggest the same thing? Of course, the AI couldn't tell us what the words meant. No machine has fully translated the text. But what it did prove is that the script is not empty decoration. There is a hidden structure waiting to be unlocked. And that gave the old story of the man with 2 memories new life. What if he really had glimpsed another world? What if he carried a memory of the one place where Voynichese was spoken every day? Part 5. Skepticism and the Power of a Legend. Of course, not everyone is convinced. In fact, most scholars reject the 2 memories story outright. Linguists point out that just because a text has statistical structure doesn't mean it's a readable language. Codes, ciphers, even carefully made nonsense can mimic patterns of real writing. And every translation of the Voynich manuscript so far, from theories about Latin, Hebrew, or Proto-Romance, has eventually fallen apart under scrutiny. They also remind us, the forum poster never produced a full, verifiable translation. He offered fragments, impressions, scattered explanations, but never the kind of consistent decoding that would stand up to testing. To academics, that's the end of the conversation. And yet, the legend survives. Because there's something undeniably compelling about it. The Voynich manuscript is the ultimate unsolved puzzle. And here comes a story about a man who claims he once lived in another world. And that in that world, this mysterious script was his mother tongue. It ties together 2 irresistible ideas. That the manuscript is meaningful. That other worlds, other lives, might leave traces in our own. And when modern AI quietly confirms that the text has some kind of hidden structure, it's enough to make people wonder. Not believe outright, but wonder. In the end, the story of the man with 2 memories is probably just that, a story. But like the manuscript itself, it lingers in the imagination. Because sometimes, what matters is not whether a mystery is solved, but whether it makes us ask bigger questions. Where did this book come from? Why does it look like language, yet refuse to be read? And, just maybe, are there memories out there that don't belong to this world? The Voynich Manuscript remains undeciphered. And so does the truth behind the man who claimed to read it. Part 6, Conclusion. What if he was right? So what do we make of all this? On one hand, the academic verdict is clear: the Voynich Manuscript remains undeciphered, and the anonymous forum poster never offered proof strong enough to change that. But on the other hand, the details he gave matched the manuscript's themes eerily well. His claim that the text was a functional language lined up with what AI would later reveal. And his bizarre story of two overlapping lives continues to haunt people who stumble across it even today. Maybe he was just a skilled storyteller. Maybe he guessed correctly. Or maybe, just maybe, he really did carry memories from a world not our own. The truth is, we may never know. The Voynich Manuscript still sits in a library, its pages silent, waiting for someone, anyone, to finally unlock its secrets. And until that day comes, stories like this will keep breathing life into its mystery. Because sometimes, what we really want from a riddle is not the solution, but the dream that somewhere, someone already knows the answer.